my name is Crystal. I'd like to welcome you to our video presentation on how to interact with the disabled world. This presentation is aimed at adult industry professionals. I will begin with a brief discussion on how people with disabilities should be viewed by the adult industry. I will then provide correct terminology and etiquette which may be utilized while interacting with people who may have specific disabilities. Distinction between disability and handicap. A disability is a condition caused by an accident, trauma, genetics, or disease which may limit a person's mobility, hearing, vision, speech, or mental function. Some people with disabilities have more than one disability. People with disabilities are not conditions or diseases. They are individual human beings. Therefore, in speaking or writing, it is preferable to mention the person's name before mentioning his or her condition. A handicap is a physical or attitudinal constraint that is imposed upon a person regardless of whether that person has a disability. Webster's 9th New Collegiate Dictionary defines handicap as to put at a disadvantage. Example, some people with disabilities use wheelchairs. Therefore, stairs, narrow doorways, and curbs are handicaps imposed upon people with disabilities who use wheelchairs. People with disabilities can have various disabling conditions, including mobility, blindness and vision, deafness and hearing, speech and language, or mental and learning disabilities. When it comes to terminology, here are some of the more preferable terms when referring to someone with a disability. Preferred: able-bodied, able to walk, see, hear, etc., or person who is not disabled. Also preferred: person with a disability or disabled, a general term used for the functional limitation that interferes with a person's ability. For example, to walk, hear, or lift. It may refer to a physical, mental, or sensory condition. Not preferred: crippled, cripples. This image conveyed is of a twisted, deformed, or useless body. Also not preferred is handicap or handicapped person. Preferred: person with cerebral palsy or person with a spinal cord injury. Not preferred: cerebral palsied, spinal cord injured, etc. Never identify people based solely on their disability. Preferred: person who has a spinal cord injury, has polio, has had a stroke, etc. Or a person who has multiple sclerosis, has muscular dystrophy, arthritis, etc. Not preferred: victim. People with disabilities do not like being perceived as victims. Also not preferred is defective, defect, deformed, vegetable, retarded, moron, idiot, afflicted with, or suffering from. These labels are offensive, dehumanizing, degrading, and stigmatizing. Preferred: deaf or person with a hearing impairment. Deaf refers to a person who has total loss of hearing. A person with a hearing impairment is a person who has partial loss of hearing within a range from slight to severe. A person with a hearing impairment communicates through speaking and usually has listening and hearing abilities adequate for ordinary telephone communication. Many people with hearing impairments use hearing aids. Not preferred: deaf and dumb is as bad as it sounds. The inability to hear or speak does not indicate any level of intelligence. Materials from this section came from the Disability Etiquette Handbook of San Antonio, Texas, and Don't Diss Me with That Language, the Disability Language. Myths and attitudes. A common myth is that disabled people should stay and live with their own kind. Forced segregation creates an artificial barrier which makes disabled people uncomfortable and hesitant to interact with the able-bodied world. It creates an environment of learned helplessness in which the disabled start to believe that they are not capable of managing their own lives. Some parents encourage this learned helplessness by doing everything for their adult child. The adult child's world is rosy until the parents pass away. Then the disabled adult children are left alone, not knowing how to take care of themselves. Erotic dancers, escorts, and other adult industry professionals can provide a service that can drastically improve how the disabled interact with the able-bodied world. Appropriate ways to inquire about disabilities. If in a service provider role, such as an escort or erotic dancer, it can be appropriate to ask about someone's disability in a kind and respectful way. Be patient with what information they may want to provide. Some people are not comfortable talking to strangers about their disability. This next section discusses proper etiquette for people with all types of disabilities. To find out more, let's go talk to my friend Sherry. Visual impairments. Identify yourself when you approach a person who is blind or visually impaired. If a new person enters your area, introduce them. While in a group, lightly touch a person's arm so that he or she knows that you are speaking to them. When giving directions, be specific. Use terms like on your left or at your 2 o'clock. You do not need to speak loudly to people with visual impairments. Most of them have no problems hearing. You should offer to read written information for a person who has a visual impairment when appropriate. Never move a visually impaired person's cane, chair, or other belongings without telling them.
Mobility impairments. Try sitting or crouching down to the approximate height of people in wheelchairs or scooters when you talk to them. Do not lean on a person's wheelchair unless you have his or her permission. It is their personal space. Be aware of what is accessible and not accessible to people in wheelchairs. Give a push only when asked. When talking with a person in a wheelchair for more than a few minutes, use a chair whenever possible in order to place yourself at the person's eye level to facilitate conversation.
Speech impairments. Listen patiently. You should not complete sentences for the person unless he or she looks to you for help. Do not pretend that you understand what a person with a speech disability is saying just to be polite. Ask the person to write a word if you are unsure of what they are saying. Listen attentively and keep your manner encouraging rather than correcting. Hearing impairments. Face people with a hearing impairment when you talk to them so that they can see your lips. Slow the rate at which you speak when talking to a person with a hearing impairment. Increase the level of your voice, or communicate by writing if necessary. To get the attention of a person with a hearing impairment, tap that person on the shoulder or wave your hands. Look directly at the person and speak clearly, naturally, and slowly to establish if the person can read lips. Not all people with hearing impairments can lip read. Those who can will rely on facial expressions and other body language to help in understanding. Show consideration by placing yourself facing the light source and keeping your hands, cigarettes, and food away from your mouth when speaking. Shouting won't help either. However, written notes are very helpful.